the first topic that I want to discuss is the fact that he could face death. And let me read a little bit of the headlines, and then we'll get your response. As we just saw the picture, his head shaved, had a cut on his right temple, and when he was in handcuffs, and Mike kind of gave us a little bit of that as well, that he stared vacantly at the packed courtroom before sitting down to listen to whispered instructions from his newly appointed attorney, Judy Clark. You know, she's a veteran of death cases. The San Diego attorney succeeded in negotiating a guilty plea and a life sentence for the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. The judge asked Loeffner if he understood that he could get life in prison or the death penalty for killing federal judge John Roll in the shooting rampage. Yes, he said. That was a quote from Loeffner. And then finally, you want to throw this out there. Loeffner is charged, to remind everybody, that he is charged with 1 count of attempted assassination of a member of Congress, 2 counts of killing an employee of the federal government, and 2 counts of attempting to kill a federal employee. Those are the federal charges, of course. Now, state prosecutors, meanwhile, are researching whether they have to wait until after the federal case is resolved or if they can proceed with local charges at the same time. Okay, so again, back to the question at hand is the fact that he could face the death penalty, and wanted to know what you think about that. Billy, I think I cut you off before, so I'll let you start in.
You know, I have reservations about the death penalty in general, as I do about abortion, and I think, you know, this is a very difficult situation. There's very likely mental illness at play here, and so I'll leave that one up to the courts. I personally struggle with it, to be honest. There are certain circumstances where you say, you know what, that person deserves it, and I'm not sure that that's even fair, so I'm going to allow that to play out.
So you're saying you don't really have a firm answer.
I'm undecided.
You don't really care one way or the other if this guy spends the rest of his life in prison or if he actually is given the death, put to death.
I think it's up to the courts. Again, I think we need to assess more of how much mental illness is at play here. It seems like there's quite a bit, and then take it from there.
But I've heard some discussions, and I know you have something to throw into this conversation, but just continuing with you for a second, Billy, I've heard discussions where people are saying, listen, yeah, the act was definitely an act of insanity, but the kind of, and there is clearly, apparently, there appears to be some sort of obsession with the Congresswoman, but there was some planning involved. So then some people are saying, well, there's some premeditation there if you're going to that extent.
Well, even if there's premeditation, the thought to actually premeditate that, to me, indicates some, a level of mental illness. So, again, I'm very uncomfortable with the death penalty. I have not arrived on a personal decision on it, so I think that the best thing here is to let this play out in the courts and examine what you just said before making those determinations.
Eric?
Boy, I thought we were going to have a different argument than that one. I'm uncomfortable with the death penalty, period, but it exists. We have a death penalty, whether we are comfortable with it or not, we have it. I can't see, if we're going to have a death penalty in this country, how this case in particular wouldn't apply itself to that death penalty. As uncomfortable as I am saying that, we do have that law does exist in this country. How could it not apply here? I mean, anybody, you commit murder, I don't care what the circumstances are, something had to snap. You kill another human being, there's something wrong, period. For absolutely everybody. What sane person do we know, does anybody know, that committed murder? So of course he's crazy in some way, shape, or form, or snap. I think that... But
there are cold-blood killers out there who are in their right minds.
Absolutely.
And they will go and kill someone.
And they're crazy.
No, I don't know. I don't think that everybody who kills is crazy. I think
the judgment to take somebody else's life, I think just that alone, to me...
Why are you uncomfortable with the death penalty?
Well, I actually think it would probably be worse to serve your entire life in prison. It's probably a worse sentence to serve your entire life in prison with no possibility of getting out. I just don't philosophically feel comfortable with the fact that because of something that someone else did, that we do the same thing as a country back. That said,
there's a cost factor. There's also a cost factor, which I hate to bring up in a case like this, but it's actually cheaper to keep someone in prison than it is to put them to death. And in these times, that is a consideration here. But again, I would say play it out in the courts. Again, we have this law, as you said, and if that's what he's sentenced to, then fine, I'm okay with it. Personally, I have reservations. philosophically.
All right. I think you have the same question that came to mind, which I think a lot of people will ask, and of course this is not a court of law, but somehow I'd imagine this is going to be brought up, because I don't know if in a situation like this that they can take on any culpability at all. But of course the question goes, wait a minute, here's your son who is, 21 years old, 22 years old, who lives in your house, and you kind of see his behavior, I'd know if my mom saw my behavior a little bit irrational, being irrational, she would know something. I don't know, is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I mean, he was removed from college, so they would have to wonder why. I mean, you'd think they would be concerned, and I'm not trying to place blame. We don't know all the intricacies.
Not. Absolutely not.
But you would wonder how he was dismissed, and they didn't.
Apparently there wasn't. They knew there was a meeting at the college where they were brought in, and because he was the level of him being removed was that he violated the college code of conduct by posting a video on YouTube, apparently criticizing the college and saying it was illegal or something. So apparently there was a meeting on the college about this. When he was removed, 2 police officers went to the house with this letter from the college saying that he would be readmitted if he sought mental health treatment. And there are reports this morning that the parents of Loughner were estranged and had difficulties, and something crossed the wires just a few moments ago saying that they're devastated and have a tremendous amount of remorse. So who knows what goes on inside families and all that.
Yeah.
But I think the bottom line is that mental health is available. If you see the warning signs, even in Arizona, and especially in Arizona, you can just call up, and I think there'll be a lot of investigations on where was the ball dropped. Was it the college? Should someone else do something? I mean, you always get in situations where the old saying that someone's going to go postal, and you've got someone in the class writing an email saying this guy's going to come in, he's going to be one of the people who's going to come in with an automatic weapon, we'll see it on the news. Now, everyone kind of jokes about that, and seriously, in serious situations, talk about that, but no one ever really to what level, where's the line that you actually have to actually take action?
Absolutely. And
actually go to an authority or a professional.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the police. Mental health counseling, every college has that.
Yeah.
Every company has that ability, very oftentimes confidentially, obviously. So I think that's one of the issues that may be brought up, and I think that the public debate will be interesting, is when you have these type of issues, maybe not even to the extent of Loughner's, how do you help people? And because they need help, and I think that's one of the major issues.
How do you help people who don't want to be helped and who aren't minors?
That's another issue, yeah.
I mean, which makes the whole discussion a little murky, because it doesn't matter how well-intentioned a lot of people may have been. At a certain age, I don't want help, I'm not going. What are you going to do?
And again, not trying to place blame on the parents, but you would hope that in most situations parents would see it and then talk with the child and try to get them into some sort of treatment, if possible.
I don't know, man. I talked to my 12-year-old about getting to school on time, and it doesn't work. So.
Harder said than done.
All right, well, Eric, thank you for
it's an interesting case, an interesting debate, and I think there'll be a lot more on this coming up as people start saying, wait a minute, maybe this part of it will become more of a national issue. And how do we help people who need help if they don't want to have help, and what do we do to prevent this type of thing? Because bottom line, if you have mental issues and you're disturbed emotionally, you need help, and the help is out there.
Well, you're right. I think many discussions to come on that, Eric. Shawn, thank you. And we have more discussions coming right here on FoxNews.com Live. Stick around. We'll take a break, and we'll be back.